Don't waste your words. I don't need anything from you. I don't care where you've been or what you plan to do. Scotland have qualified for the World Cup. There's going to be so much chat about Scotland going to the World Cup between now and next summer. It's going to be all about next summer. Last summer, the summer just passed, that was all about Oasis, wasn't it? Oasis, the best Oasis song isn't even by Oasis. It's Manson's "Take It Easy Chicken." I just try to impersonate Oasis, and they come up with a far better song. A lot of people that I really like, a lot of people I love Oasis. I just don't have any time for them really at all. Nothing wrong. We want to be a good ELO or Slade tribute band. They don't want to be ELO or Slade. ELO or Slade, fantastic musical legacies, very enjoyable. ELO already kind of skimming off the top of the Beatles, just taking their sense of what the Beatles were at a certain point in the Beatles' life, and that leads to ELO and Oasis. Obviously, a big Beatles obsession there, but they're never going to be them. The two bands that they should have tried to be and couldn't have been without, and were never going to be anyway, were the Smiths, who invented the baggy Manchester scene with just one song, "Barbarism Begins at Home." Just that's how good the Smiths were. They just invented the whole Manchester scene with particularly the way that song ends. The live version of "Barbarism Begins at Home." Check that out, and you've got everything you need for the Manchester scene. And the other band that Oasis should have wanted to be, did want to be, could never have existed without, and never ever will be. First, when did I go to uni? I went to uni as a mature student. I was still in my early 20s. There's nothing mature about me, but I'd worked for a few years just following Rangers everywhere. That was my real dream, and then I thought I better get myself a bit of an education, and I managed to sneak in because I'd been working for a few years in a way that I never would have been able to if I'd gone straight through school. But the very first exam, like actual university exam, degree exam I ever sat, I think it would be December 1993. What was it? English language? I think it was English language. And myself and one of the boys I was on the course with, who was like 17, 18-year-old, and my mate, who would go to uni the following year that I'd worked with for the past few years, they joined me, and I was at the beer bar. I was quite kind of, I would go to the QM union, I would go to the GU union. I like a bit of conservatism. I like a bit of the left wing stuff. I just take the bits that I like for stuff, and I go different places. I was a bit kind of binary when it came to what union I would drink in. But it can't be the beer bar, because there wasn't a jukebox in the beer bar. There's another bar. I think it might be attached to the Hive, which was the old club, the club that was attached to the GU. But it was still, it was. I think it was like a 2-hour exam for 9 o'clock in the morning. So we were in there by the back of 11. And the very first song, there was a jukebox in this bar in the GU, and the very first song I put on is I Want to Be Adored. When I got in the car on the 14th of May, the morning of the 14th of May 2008, to head down to the football match that my whole life was all about, the football match I dreamed of getting to. It just shows you how good the music is when you just ignore the superstitious possibilities of you get in the car to drive down to that final. And it's Fool's Gold. I put on Fool's Gold, and the happiest I think I've ever been at the football, most contented I've ever been at football. I've been more elated, obviously. There's different types of joy, different types of games over the years, but I've told you my horror story about getting into the final, despite having had a ticket since, basically since I was born, really. I had a ticket for the 14th of May 2008, but there's a problem with the turnstile system in Manchester City's super duper new stadium, and we nearly didn't get in time for kick-off, and I was as fat then as I am now, and I had to run to get myself in. The only thing I wanted to see was Rangers coming down the tunnel and walking past a European trophy onto the pitch in a European final, and I was there, and it was happening, and half-time, 0-0, we Zenit. It's all still possible, everything's still there, but the main thing was I was there. We weren't getting gubbed. I've always got my kind of negative thoughts come in there first, and the negative thoughts weren't coming true, and at half-time, halfway through half-time, on came I Am the Resurrection, which is in the proper version, the long version, with what sounds like the greatest jamming session of all time. A lot of people have got problems with the Roses. A lot of music critics, a lot of music snobs get problems with the Stone Roses in exactly the same way as I looked in my nose at at Oasis. We like what we like, and I've rarely liked anything as much as I like the Roses. And R.I.P. Manny. R.I.P. It's fucking shit being old, and he wasn't old enough. He wasn't old enough. It's shit being old, but my God, it's great to have lived when you're the same age as that music, the greatest of music. R.I.P. Manny, how you doing, folks? This is your Fatek. Livingston was Russell Martin's first league victory of this season. Please don't let Livingston be Danny Röhl's first league defeat of this season. Preview pod coming to you in association with Jersnet. Check out Jersnet tonight. I'm recording at exactly the same time as Jersnet is on, which is sacrilegious, but needs must. I think it's Brian and Stuart. I think it's going to be Brian and Stuart on that one, so that'll be well worth checking out. The boys are always good value, two great guys. And I'm also sponsored by Iced Mince Pies. I know I was slagging off Christmas. I was slagging off Christmas the other week, the Christmas industry, but I love Christmas. I absolutely love it. And you might not know by looking at me, but the thing I love most about Christmas is the imbibing, the bevy. Yeah, but a bevy all the time. It's the food. It's the particular foods you're allowed to get into. The thing that sums it up. I do the Brussels sprouts, the pigs in blankets, and if there's gravy there, you just slap it in the turkey. And I loved it. But iced mince pies is a thing that come around. I think I was in my 20s before there was these iced mince pies, and it's a kind of it's a difficult choice because it goes two ways with the mince pies. You kind of heat up the iced ones, because they've got the ice. No, maybe you can, but I'm sure the icing would obviously melt. Look into that for me if anybody knows how you could do that. But no, the iced mince pies are this thick wedge. You can do. Morrison's do them. I think Asda will do them. Tesco. I think every supermarket has got their own brand of iced mince pies. Mr. Kipling, the big hitter, he's right in there, right in the middle. Probably don't. Maybe he invented the iced mince pie. This mince pie thing's pretty sweet, pretty fattening. No fattening enough. Get some icing on top of that. Whoever invented that is genius. Just absolute genius, and just they should be hung in the Louvre. Not hung, but. But I think it's actually the supermarket own brands that do them better. I think the Mr. Kipling ones they're probably better taste. They probably taste better. A bit richer, a bit fancier in the ingredients, and that, but they scrimp on that wedge of icing they stick on top of it. It's absolutely glorious. So the choice you've got when you give me a mince pie that's not got the icing on it, it better be warm, and it's cream. I've had cream and ice cream. And then squishy cream as well, and it's absolutely phenomenal. The iced mince pies. That's why I don't do cocaine. I've never had a snort of cocaine. Honestly, I've never had all the alcohol you can think of. I've never had a snort of cocaine because how I'm addicted to these certain things at certain times of year, food things, I would never be able to recover from. If I had one, if I looked at heroin, or I'd be gone. That'd be me. I'd be absolutely done. But my addictive personality, one of the things I absolutely loves about Christmas is the ice mince pie, and I'm seeing them appearing now in the supermarket, and it's just taking me. I wish I hadn't said that last week about Christmas, because I just steam in there and start getting them in November onwards. I'd probably be gone by Christmas anyway. But what a way to go! My name's Alec Anderson. A cheap holiday in other people's misery. I don't want a holiday in the sun. I want to go to the New Bell Sun. I want to see some history, 'cause now I've got a reason about economy. Now I've got a reason. Now I've got a reason. Now I've got a reason, and I'm still waiting. Now I got a reason. Now I got a reason to be waiting. The Berlin. Since a round sound in a 2-inch wall, I was waiting for the communist call. I dared to ask for sunshine. I got World War III. I'm looking over the wall, and they're looking at me. So I'm just stop, Alex. Stop. I can't help myself. My name's Alec Anderson. I'm coming to you the night before Rangers play Livingston in the SPFL Premiership. What's that, our 10th league fixture of the season? And it's at the end of the international break, a sensational international break. But, holiday in the sun, Berlin Wall, all that kind of stuff, holiday in other people's misery. I'll not be going to the States. There's no flipping way I'm going to go to the States right now. Bolsonaro didn't take over until 2019 in Brazil. I was talking about that the other night. But going for it anyway, Infantino, isn't he? For Brazil to Russia, Putin, and then he goes to Qatar, don't be gay there. And then it's he's found a World Cup in the United States when the United States is under the most autocratic, dictatorial, big nonce of a president of all time. ICE picking people off the streets and what have you. The ICE, and then you get your mince pies. ICE, the immigration control, expediting execution type people, total racists. It's the brown shirts, black shirts. So if it was in Mexico, if Scotland ended up again in Mexico, maybe I would go. But it would kill me, just the heat. There's no point in doing that. Canada, phenomenal, lovely family in Canada. It's a great country, and if we play there, that'd be a bit. I've not been going to see Scotland abroad. I've never seen Scotland outside the UK, so that'd be out of order if I did that. But we've had enough. I think it's tried to kind of put away the saltire. Not put it away so much ahead of this weekend as kind of enfold it in the flag of Northern Ireland, the flag of Wales, the flag of England, some kind of union, kind of cloth, a jacked up flag with all the home nations, or the British, the UK home nations. But wear that tomorrow and just remember, if you can, somebody could be standing up tomorrow giving it, if I hadn't moved up bloody, you love this Scotland, Scotland. That's how we've not got John Souttar. Nobody's been sticking up for John Souttar all season, but that's bloody international football. That's how we've not got Derek Cornelius. We hear all that more. Just think, it's all right, it's okay. Being a Scotland fan is different from being a Tartan Army foot soldier. Don't worry about it. It's okay. It's supporting Scotland isn't the same thing as voting SNP. Plenty of Rangers fans do vote SNP. Voting yes in 2014 didn't necessarily. A lot of folk who weren't going to support the SNP and never voted SNP voted yes back in 2000. I wasn't one of them, but it's not the same. It's just let's kind of get this all back. And I'm going to the snagging items. The snagging items from the last podcast where I was talking about the Scotland game, where we beat Denmark 4-2, qualified for the World Cup for the first time this century. It was totally out of sync. I'm getting. This pod will be out of sync as well by now, probably. Technically, I'm absolutely useless when it comes to the pod. I need some sort of sponsorship. I need somebody to just buy me a camera. I don't even need a sponsor. So just something. I'll just say your name for the rest of my life. Somebody knows what cameras to buy for podcasting. Microphones. This is an outside microphone thing. I should have the proper big, the big Danish stuff or whatever, the German microphones that everybody else has got. I don't know what it is, but I did see. I don't know why the algorithm in YouTube sent this to me, of course, but apparently, you get these people on YouTube that the minute you start making YouTube videos or have a YouTube channel, you get all these people that how to make gazillions out of YouTube, how to make gazillions of don't do shorts, do shorts, do long form stuff, don't do long form stuff, make them over an hour, make them less than 30 minutes. It's a good laugh. It's all young folk, but this a couple that got this week sent to me where. The granddad style of pod is doing well these days. I don't know why the algorithm decided to send that to me. And then there's the boring. Why boring pods are blowing up in 2025. There's folk that just sit and they ramble. They don't even edit their pods. They just stay on one take. I mean that's all I know how to do. Some folk just film it in their phone. That's all I know how to do as well. But these are guys that live in cabins somewhere in rural America, and they're off the grids. Apart from the fact that they've got these podcasts going out 4 times a week, but they're no edited and they just ramble on kind of naturalistic stuff. That's all I do. Apparently that's okay as well. So I'm actually nailing it. Don't get me a camera. Don't get me microphones. This is the way. But apologies for it being out of sync. I forgot to say again, if you're a Rangers fan who doesn't like the Scottish national team, then that's absolutely fine. I respect that. Just respect the fact that I don't want to surrender my national team to all the people who don't want Rangers fans to support Scotland. To anybody who may not, for example, I want to surrender to people who may not, for example, let's just say, have the same amount of respect for the amount of goals and things that Ali McCoist and John Gregg did for Rangers as they did for the Scotland national team. So much to say the other night. It was so emotional, so confusing. I forgot and I omitted so much of what I meant to say. But Argentina versus Scotland at Murrayfield on Sunday, I was talking about that, the rugby, and how it just set me off. I'd parked my angry feelings at the end of Scotland against Greece in the World Cup qualifiers, the soccer, on the Saturday night, because I wanted to enjoy my weekend, and I accidentally caught, just through walking in and out the living room what was happening with the rugby union, which wasn't even that interested in. At Murrayfield on Sunday, and the way Scotland just surrendered this massive lead against Argentina in the space of 25 minutes just set me off about Scottish field sports, if you like, or whatever. It just tapped into what had been backed up for last night. And I didn't finish off that point in the podcast the other night, what it was, all the stuff I ended up talking about Argentina and what they mean to me in terms of football. But it was the fact that like, you've got three former Scotland internationals sitting in the studio, the BBC, all laughing away. One of them was the Rangers women's team manager, Neil McCann, one of my favourite Rangers players of all time, and Stephen Thompson. He played for Rangers. I was in Bratislava when he scored his only Champions League goal. They're all sitting. What are we like, man? That's absolutely mental. Still, we still go into this game against Denmark just needing to do the same thing as we did at the start of the game the night. So it doesn't really matter. Number one, we needed Belarus to dig us out. That's embarrassing. We needed Belarus to dig us out against the Danes in Copenhagen. And it did change what we needed. If we'd won against Greece and the chances that Shea Adams missed in the second half, and the way it was appalling. If we'd beaten Greece and Belarus had got that same result, they got the draw in Copenhagen, we'd have went into that game the other night just needing a draw. So it did massively change, but this is part of the attitude problem. So what are we like? We just get angry about it. It shouldn't be. So that was. I forgot to mention to finish off that point. I probably shouldn't have bothered. And I mentioned MoMA. I was talking about don't hang it in the Louvre, the Scott McTominay goal, hang it in MoMA, Museum of Modern Art, in exchange for. But it's no, it's GOMA, it's a gallery of modern art. I've been in it, and I'm quite the aesthete. I've been in it at least twice, so I should really have known that, shouldn't I? Was I just trying to pretentiously point out the fact MoMA, New York, I've been in the queue twice, 2002, first time I went to New York, then back again like 2013, and I was twice in the queue both times. In the queue to get into MoMA in New York and then get just bored waiting. I think it was a Yoko Ono exhibit on or something. We're not going to bother. In between times, 2008, went to Chicago and went to the Museum of Contemporary Art. So that's MoCA. I've been to Guggenheim in New York and the Guggenheim in Bilbao. Goga, no, that's what the Googa hunters of Ness, the port of Ness, they go out and they get to be the chicks, the Gannet chicks. That's what they do. That's a different thing, I mean, the new National Gallery in Berlin is Ngbe. I've been in there, and it's a Mies van der Rohe building. So you're actually in the art. It doesn't matter what exhibitions on. I've been in great exhibitions, but it's all glass, curtain round about it. It's absolutely beautiful, stunning. One of his last buildings, Mies van der Rohe died the month after I was born. Did Mies the God is in the detail, and I think he, or less is more. If you go to that gallery, you're in the best art you're ever going to experience at that gallery when you're in his there. But modern, modern architecture, modernism. That was pre-World War II. Yet you go to a museum of modern art, and it's all about how it's all stuff after Second World War. Modern art is stuff after Second World War. But modernism, that's all born after the First World War, isn't it? So it's really quite confusing. It's got a kind of recency bias. If you're in your MoMAs and your GOMAs, there's quite a recency bias there, and it's horrific recency bias that I was suffering from when I did that podcast the other night. One of the other snagging items I need to mention is Coop. Forgive me. I was talking about how Scott McTominay's goal goes up in the pantheon of great Scotland goals and great goals scored at Hampden. I rhymed off a few, maybe a couple. Did I mention Coop? And the best goal I've ever seen scored at Hampden. I was there at the game where Zidane scored that goal in the Champions League final. But I was there, one of my greatest days ever at Hampden, the 1987-88 League Cup final against Aberdeen, the 3-each draw that we won on penalties, and Super Cooper scores that free kick, and I don't know if it might still be the greatest goal I've ever seen in the flesh. It was the first League Cup final, only the second time I ever went to Hampden. The first time I went to Hampden, it was Scotland against Portugal, October 1980, a World Cup qualifier, the 1982 World Cup qualifier, and I've been to qualify in every World Cup qualifying campaign since. I was at the Greece game in this one, so I've been involved. Didn't get to the game the other night, but I've been involved fairly consistently. And it was 0-0, Scotland 0-0, Portugal 46 years later. I was at 0-0 with Portugal where the whole place was rocking, but this was really disappointing back in 1980. So the next 1981, November 1981, the following year, I'm at League Cup final down the old schoolboys enclosure in front of the old main stand at Hampden, and it's Davy Cooper scores a free kick in that game in the League Cup final, which Hamish McAlpin, I think, got a kind of hand to it. or was that Ian Redford's shot? And the first goal I ever saw scored at Hampden was Ralph Milne. Ralph Milne pitched Dundee United 1-0 up second half. Then David Cooper equalises with a quarter hour to go, and Ian Redford scores it. They're all dead now. They're all dead. Great players, all dead, and all taken far too soon. It's not just an age thing with me, but that was the first. David Cooper scoring a great free kick at Hampden that just lit up my world, because I was in the depths of despair. Rangers were rubbish at that point in time, doing nothing in the league ever, and here I am at a cup final, and we're getting beat after Dundee United. It's just. And he just saved the day, and Ian Redford just made my day that day. It was phenomenal. But that Super Cooper goal against Aberdeen in another League Cup final, and he scored a few in the League Cup finals, did Super Cooper, did Davy Cooper. And the Scotland thing, even in the pantheon of great Scotland goals, I was behind the goals in the Rangers end, standing the Rangers end with my mates when he scored against Australia. After having scored the equaliser, I'm talking about significant Scotland goals. Goals that put us in World Cups, and there was, I was talking about Ken Dalglish scoring against Wales at Anfield in '77. That's one of my earliest memories watching Scotland. I was watching that one at the telly. I was only kind of 8 at the time, but I was behind the goal. I was watching it on telly when he equalised against Wales. Last kick of the ball, practically, really, really vital. I was at a couple of games at Hampden. I was at the Wales game at Hampden, the reverse fixture, when Wales beat us at Hampden in the game against Spain in that campaign. But Davy Cooper pits us, that's vital against Wales, down at Cardiff, Ninian Park, the night Jock Stein died, and then that put us into the playoff, put Wales out, put us into the playoff against Australia. We drew 0-0 in Australia, but the game at Hampden we won 2-0, and it was Davy Cooper, second half, free kick outside the box, at the bottom corner, just opens the scoring. Frank McAvenny adds the coup de grace, if you like, the icing on the mince pie at the end of that one. But it was, Super Cooper did it all. He did it all, and I can't believe it. I must be a recency bias thing. Great goals scored at Hampden. Great goals scored for Scotland. Vital goals scored for Scotland. Davy Cooper did it all. He just did it all, and I really apologise to Davy for no mentioning him the other night. A bit of a mind fart. Kenny McLean, I was talking about how his goal eradicated the Patrick Schick goal for the Czech Republic. I was in the North Stand that day when Patrick Schick scored that goal. That was 3/4 empty Hampden. It was a miserable experience all round. The only time I've seen Scotland at a major finals, and it was at Hampden. The second goal was Patrick Schick, and everybody was laughing at us for that goal. That's one of the moments, a kind of reverse thing. I'm not into patriotism or nationalism, but it's when the whole world's laughing at your football team for that. That's when you feel, no, we need to be better. We need to. I have a pride about the Scotland national team, and it was really hot that day with that goal. But Kenny McLean's was further out. Kenny McLean was just, I think it was right in the halfway line when Kenny McLean hits it. Schick was 2 or 3 yards into the Scotland half when he put it over David Marshall from far out. So that was, and it only finished third for the Puskas Award that year. Did Patrick Schick's goal? I think McTominay's scoring it into the Rangers end at Hampden. That's got to win. That's got to win the Puskas Award, hasn't it? It's certainly going to be in the running anyway. And the thing is, Puskas scored 3 goals, and when he's the only man to score 4 goals in a European Cup final, the only man to score European Cup / Champions League final, only man to score a hat trick in 2. There's only been 4 hat tricks ever scored in the Champions League final, European Cup, and Puskas scored 2 of them. One was against Benfica in Amsterdam, and they lost. Benfica beat Real Madrid 5-3. And it was a first half hat trick, 3 goals. He scored 4 at Hampden in the 7-3 game against Eintracht Frankfurt for Real Madrid in 1960. And he scored 1 in the first half and 3. He scored a hat trick in one half of a European Cup final, twice his Puskas as well. It was 4 goals total in the 1960 final, but the 3 goals he scored in the 1960 final in the second half were on to the Rangers end, the very end, the very goals that are not the square posts anymore, and it's not the big old, the super deep Hampden nets that they used to be back in the days, bring them back. But it was still the same end that Puskas scores. It'd be more poetic if Scott McTominay. I'm going to talk about Kevin Thelwell's interview on Rangers TV last Saturday. I'm going to talk about Sweet Baby James Taylor And the financial figures today, I'm going to talk about the injury crisis. I'm going to talk about Danny Röhl, but we're going to do the same scenario here, folks. Do the snagging items first. We're going to get there. I'm no for 1 second having this kind of notion that supporting Scotland is akin to supporting the SNP. I can't stand it. The kilted Warriors garbage either. Characters. That's William McIlvanney's at Sporting Question. It used to become Monday Night Sport. Sporting Question, I think, was one with the audience. And then it went to STV in a Monday night with Jim Delahunt just talking to two folk. And I remember him talking to William McIlvanney. I've read all William McIlvanney's books. A great Ayrshire. And William McIlvanney was telling an anecdote to praise the Tartan Army. And it's that thing where, because the opposite of hooliganism, I think hooliganism is often the only thing that the Tartan Army is better than. The English fans, the actual acts of violence are sometimes the only thing that the Tartan Army behaviour is better than. And you can't, like any Rangers supporters, the same thing, a man, any way you want to group people at all, it's a smorgasbord of personalities and different things going on. I remember being down at Wembley the first time Scotland played at the new Wembley, the only time they played at the new Wembley, 2003. No, it was the first time. No, it was the second. It was the first time because we then played them competitively in the qualifiers for 2018 World Cup. We get beat 3-0. This was the game we get beat 3-2. I think it was the 150th anniversary of the FA. And I was at that one. Only time I've seen Scotland scoring at Wembley. Third attempt, different stadium technically. And I remember talking to a port because it was really packed in the way out. It was taking ages to get back into the underground, and this English policeman just talked to my sister now at length because it was so mobbed, and he was saying, I can't stand it. He says, I've followed Scotland since '74, so I can't stand England support. He says, they have like 3 beers and they get totally leery, and a lot of that was going on. Yeah, come on, you fit. He says the Scotland supporters just want to enjoy themselves and have a good day out. And most folk do. That's the thing. Most people do. And I remember being in when our train was getting ready to pull away. There's Scotland fans constantly come down the stairs to fill the train up before it goes away, and these English guys go involved. And obviously most English folk just love their football as well. Just people just love the team. I've got stories about all that as well. How lovely it can be watching England. But these guys that were doing the kind of hooligan thing. There was one guy who was proper like your East End gangster heavy type. I don't know, he's Phil Luton, but Charles Bronson. Look, that thing was just. His chest is like a shelf. It's like a bus. It's this massive chest. It's just a big box of muscle. The guy just does press ups and boxing all the time. Huge fella. Even just too big even to be a football hooligan. So he's just done there with a couple of other idiots scumbags just looking to pick on somebody and fight them. And the Scotland fans, that's the one thing, they're just too kind of up for a bevy and a laugh and all that it's really inappropriate. There's a few boys come down the stairs, just ordinary guys like myself. And I remember sitting there watching, and he was right in their faces. Come on, and they weren't backing down for a second. Just like, what? You're going to punch us out? Do it. Let's. And I thought, it's no. You can't generalise obviously about anybody. The football's there, so we can all kind of adhere temporarily to a generality or a stereotype that we enjoy, whatever. But a lot of the stuff of the Tartan Army I haven't enjoyed. And I remember William McIlvanney talking about a scenario in France. He was at the France World Cup '98, and Scotland supporters were all, I don't know what one of the games it was, whether it was Paris or where else we play, Saint Etienne, and was it Bordeaux, the game against Norway. But there's a local woman with a pram, and she's trying to cross the road, get through all the Scotland supporters, and there's these Scotland supporters on the other side of the road, big guys, William McIlvanney's saying, and then this big guy suddenly comes walking towards her across the road, and you could see she was scared, but he stopped the traffic both ways, put his hand out and shouted at everybody to get out of her way and helped her across the road. And William McIlvanney, he's a fantastic writer, and he had far better insight about human nature than I ever will, but he was holding this up as an example of how great the Tartan. I thought, no, I've been there, I've seen that kind of situation. That woman gets scared. She didn't have to be scared at all, even if it was just temporarily. And the guy's helping her out in a really grandiose way. It's look at me. It's not about helping the woman. It's about behaving. I've seen these dancing with old women and trying to dance with old women in the street outside that pub at the bottom of Hope Street. Was it called the Goose and the Crescent or the Moon or something? I can't remember what it is. It's a big spoons down the bottom of Hope Street, and I was going to some Scotland game midweek. I think it's a friendly or something, one of the kind of 20,000 jobs. it was peeing it down, and there was a fellas doing the whole. We've got the kilt on, so we're characters. Boris Johnson, a character, 23,000 dead, and he's walking down the street and with his pals, and there's this old woman, proper old kind of Glasgow woman, working class woman, and she literally had one of the shopping cart things that you pull along with the wheels on it. All right, my dear, how you doing? And he grabs her arms and he's wanting to dance with her on the street because he's up to for being, a kind of picture-friendly version of the Tartan. Actually, no, son, I'm not into that kind of thing. I thought, aye, fuck you, mate. Just leave her alone. And I've seen them doing stuff. I've seen guys like that doing things like that with much younger women in a way that goes beyond it. No, everybody, obviously, folk are just there for a laugh mostly, but self-styled characters are always dangerous. I could just call them rapists. Everybody at work called them rapists. That's the thing you wokes don't get. That's real life is cruel, it's a bit harsh and all that, but it's how we get through real life because we're working real jobs. This is the Polish things. They call him rapist, but he's all right. He's just one of the boys Sarah ever had. So you got to be aware of characters. I get that, I really do, but I don't give into this thing that the Rangers don't have anything to do with the Tartan. They don't have anything to do with Scotland national team. Rangers are Scottish, and at times we've been Scotland. We used to be the Scotland support in the 70s. I'm sick of us constantly being the very thing at Rangers that our enemies want us to be. After 2012, I get anybody not wanting to have anything to do with the Scottish football authorities. I respect that, and particularly the representative 11. But to pretend to have another favourite national team just to kind of give our haters what they actually want. I mean, it sounds more like abandoning Scotland because it's uncool and not winning for so long. It's a kind of pandering. But there's Scotland fans who say Rangers fans aren't welcome. Well, you're the same as them if you give into it. You're saying you're not welcome as a Rangers fan to support Scotland. And plus, these people are they're no Scotland fans. They're purely club fans who are going along to Scotland games thinking about us. They're Waynes. Don't worry about them. And the idea that wanting Scotland to be part of the UK is something you voted for. That's any reason other than the benefit of Scotland. That needs taking on and kind of stamping out. This is our national team. Everybody in Scotland's national team. You're cheering goals by Celtic players. No, I'm cheering goals by Rangers players. When they score for Scotland, no, I'm cheering goals by Scotland players. If they score for Scotland, they're a Scotland player. And the thing about that, it works only as in a plus, and if it's a blue nose like Lawrence Shankland or Kenny McLean, you can maybe enjoy it a wee bit extra. But it sums up the diversity. What a diversity we have in Scotland. You're a Catholic and a Protestant. Every now and then we get somebody else that's super exotic, or somebody who's basically English and doesn't care. That's about as diverse as we get in the Scotland national team. But you get the bonus, the benefit. You get, that's our player. That's our player that scored for Scotland. That makes it extra special. But they play for somebody else, doesn't it? Other club, they're there to support Scotland. It's a different thing. It's healthy for you to get out of that club mindset and still retain your love of football, your critical faculty about football. But when I go to see Rangers so many times, there's Rangers supporters who don't want the Rangers captain to score because they hate James Tavernier so much. They've got a point to prove about him. It's not just about the Scotland national team, but that's an arsehole thing, and arseholes, as I am proven, affect every kind of facet of life. The problem with football, you see, is it attracts millions of people who want to be miserable, and some people who need football as a psychological pressure valve for their misery. I do it myself all the time. You take out stuff on your football teams, on the football environment that you're not allowed to take out against the people that you really should be. Sometimes it's used as a kind of vehicle for hatred, but football ultimately is about positivity. You want your team to score a goal. There's a target right in front of you, and it's those nets up that end of the park, and you want them to score more goals than the opposition on that park right in front of you, and you want them to score so many goals more than the opposition for the course of a season that you end up winning trophies and things like that. The ultimate aim is to see your team do well. It's a positive thing. Football's got no shape, no structural integrity without hope, positivity, in optimism. I don't mean this self-styled character, look at me, it's all about me. Oh, I'm going to get pissed, and that's a really original. Nobody's ever get pissed before. I don't mean that kind of stuff. I don't mean, oh, do a dear, you don't expect me to sing something for the Sound of Music. Oh, football supporters do that. It's just... but proper optimism, when it gets rewarded, there are those that are there for the bad stuff get totally exposed, and those who are just at the football for themselves are terrified that they're going to be ignored. Just like 55 for us, title number 55 for us, Scotland getting to the first World Cup in the 21st century it's cleansing a lot of souls, our souls, and it's calling out a lot of our souls. If you didn't want your team to win, what did you want? And what were your opinions worth if you weren't ultimately wanting your own team to win, if you weren't properly invested in the game? Right, okay, baby James Taylor. I've got one other thing. I'm still just in the snagging items here. Curacao, the game kicks off shortly. Rangers against Livingston kicks off in about 2 minutes. Curacao had no idea, thanks to Gaz, the legend that is Gaz, getting in touch the other day to say, aye, Dick Advocat, what a great job. And I'm like, what? I knew Curacao had qualified, and I'm thinking, well, there, that's a nation of 150 odd thousand just as well. Scotland qualified. You know, we get 5 million folk here in Scotland. That's always seen as an excuse for only wanting to qualify. That being enough. No, it'd been embarrassing because we're massive compared to Curacao. I had no idea Dick Advocat was a manager. No, thanks guys for letting us know. But well done, the little general. He just wanted to retire. He can't help himself. I know obviously Curaçao's got big. It's a Dutch territory, isn't it? Is Giovanni van Bronckhorst, is he of Curaçaoan descent originally? I don't know. I don't know why I'm making a big kind of Alan Partridge face as well, but there you are. Sweet baby James Taylor, Chief Financial Officer, he to do his bit today on Rangers TV. He was pushed out there to talk about the financial figures, the accounts up to the year end, June 2025, taken from the BBC Sports website. We posted losses of 14.8 million, despite record revenues of 94.1 million. This is pounds. GBP, sterling. From last year, our losses are down. That's 14.8 million just now. That's down from 17.2 million last year in terms of losses, and those revenues are up from 88.3 million last year, so 94.1 million. Our operating expenses are down 4% to 92.2 million. Revenue of 94.1 million. This is to a non-financial person like myself. Revenues of 94.1 million must be minted. How much is it costing us to run the place? What's the bit? That's 92.2 million. Okay, let's start switching the lights off. If you're not actually in this room, switch the lights off. There's a £2.7 million profit before player trading, and last year that was a £2 million loss. The same figure the year before was £10.5 million loss. We're heading in the right direction, and there's very good reasons for that as well, other than just the football. We're not concerned about the loss, says James. We're focused on it. Good stuff, good management speak there. But we don't want to be overly focused on player trading. This is good stuff. I like the way he's putting this together. We don't want to be overly focused on player trading relative to success on the park, but by gosh, we need the player trading and the European runs to finance any idea the club has of being self-sustaining. That's the thing that I don't really know much. I'm not a financial expert, but between what I'm earning in YouTube and my wee job on the tills at Waitrose. Oh, I'm not working in Asda Morrison's or something like that. No, it's Waitrose for me. I'm going to be a partner. Well, between those two gigs I've got going, Steve Clark household is not going to be the only one having a good Christmas this year, and I'll tell you that much. But I don't really know. Just the message I was getting was that we need to do well in Europe. We need to do well in Europe, and the player trading thing is keeping us going as well. Although it was ever thus, but he did point out, James, that we, the people, the support coming through the turnstiles, is a huge part of our financial health. This is only the second time since we've returned to the top flight that we've recorded a profit before player trading. The other time was when we got to the Europa League final. So these figures coming out today include us getting to the Europa League quarter final. So it's not just the prestige that I'm always yakking on about. It's why we need Europe. It's so bloody important to us, and that's why it's good news for me. I've decided it's good news that Bill Foley, the Black Knights guy has the Bournemouth owner. He's pulled out from Hibs, or not pulled out. Hibs have had to buy him out. Buy out his 25% holding in Hibs just last week. The Gordon family are going to buy him out. Hibs supporters make it out as a good thing because Hibs are, they're not going to be a feeder club for Bournemouth, and they're not getting any Bournemouth players on loan that they want to get. You can have someone that wants to speak. No, you're not getting any Bournemouth players on loan that they want to get, and that they can't see any benefit. It's good just to be your own club, self-sustaining, what have you. I know he didn't like David Gray as a manager, and that he wasn't very involved. I don't think he ever went to a single game. Bill Foley, but he. Hibs are doing really well just now. I'm sure that must have something to do with that. And I think Hibs posted losses of about 7 million. I think it was in February or something. I was reading this on the BBC Sports website, and now it's going to cost the Gordons about £6-7 million to buy out Foley. And for Hibs, that's huge. So I think they're going to take a hit, and it's probably just as well because they're above us just now. We've got a game in hand on them, but they're above us in the league. They're fourth. They're third. We're fourth. But we have to finish. If we're not going to win the Scottish Cup, which is Europa League qualification, or qualifying for the qualifying rounds of the Europa League, we need to finish in the top two. We need to get above Hearts or Celtic. We need to get up there because third and fourth in the league puts you into the Conference League second qualifying round. The Conference League is, there's a chance you could win the thing. Chelsea, I thought there's going to be one English team in it that'll just blow everybody away. Probably Chelsea won the Conference League at a canter last season. I think they lost, or they failed to win one game, their whole involvement, the whole tournament. They were 1-0 down in the final at half time, still won the thing 4-1 against Betis and Wrocław. But the 100% record in the group stage, and I think they only failed to win one game, but they'd won the first leg quite healthily and put the reserves out for the second leg. Fielded the reserves for the second legs, but maybe some Spanish team has a great day and we're capable of that and puts out the big English. Now, there's a chance you could win. As Rangers, we could win the Conference League. That's winnable for us if we don't stay as focused on the domestic situation as we seem to be under the current regime. But it's a big ask. It's still a big risk to be looking to make something to the Conference League. There's just nothing like the same amount of money involved. It's very much officially the tertiary European club competition. There's only 6 group games as opposed to 8 that you get in the other 2 competitions, and I say the money's just not the same. The standard of clubs involved just isn't the same. So we don't want to be getting into the Conference League from a financial point of view. We want to be getting ourselves into the Champions League qualifiers, just in the hope that we can drop down. We've got a safety net that will let us go through into the Europa League group stage. Did you see match day 1 of the Champions League this season? Union St Gilloise won, I think it's 3-1. They won at PSV Eindhoven, their first ever Champions League game. Union St Gilloise, and that's the 2 teams that we beat the last time we played in the Champions League group stage, the old style group stage. But no, that's the 2 teams that we beat under Gio. We beat Union St Gilloise and we beat PSV again. And then in match day 6 of this season's Europa League, Panathinaikos are going to play Victoria Pilsenia, who are the 2 sides that we put out this season's Champions League qualifiers. Anyway, I found that was quite interesting. But we need to be finishing the top 2 this season. Equity investment. That's I don't know why we need Lovies getting involved there. They're working off tips as they don't get a lot of money, these RS AMD graduates. But James was going on about equity investment. The equity investment at the end of the year, that's June 2025, folks, that's the new owners. It made a big difference. Before he went down, James Taylor we're still on a journey, kind of blue sky jargon part. I assume we'll be driven on that journey because it's a whole lot of driving this and driving that. Going on in that interview at Rangers TV, it's not an interview, it's just a statement really. But he pointed out, James, that the equity investment, i.e. a hard drop of big cash, was making as huge a difference to Rangers as the experience Kavanagh and Marathi have in sports investment. We'll be fine while they're here. We'll be fine as long while the 49ers Enterprises are in charge. I don't want anything to happen to him while my brother's alive. We're going to be fine financially while these fellas are here. These figures, of course, they don't include the money received in the summer for Igaman going to Lille, Hefty going to Palmeiras, Dessers going to Panathinaikos, and Midvan Yilmaz going to back to Besiktas, which I recall, I think respectively that was £2.50, $1 trillion US, a packet of salt and vinegar discos, and a wham bar that we got for them, which in my calculations totals £22 million. January, Kevin Thelwell was talking about January earlier on in the week or last Saturday, and I think that's your money. You probably get that an emergency sale, a fire sale of Nico Raskin to Spurs in January. You probably get you about £22 million because we're going to be doing things in January, according to Kevin Thelwell. We're going to be active. If I hadn't told him active, he'd never have got the cottage. We're going to be active in January, and maybe that £22 million that's not part of these figures today is going to be spent on players that our new gaffer wants. I'll just go and quickly do the Kevin Thelwell thing. He spoke, our sporting director, he spoke last Saturday, another one of these kind of staged Rangers TV. It looks like an interview, but it's really just a statement type things, kind of 15 minutes video that was released. He's sitting in a kind of bar lounge, piano bar type setting. I don't know, was that the Forest Precision Engineering Lounge? Have anybody been? It's one of these kind of hospitality bits anyway. And more relaxed. Didn't have the specs on. His hair looked a bit more natural, a bit like it could be his natural colour. It isn't. We expect to be fairly active in January. And Danny Röhl, he gets the. It's important to point out he gets the final say. I mean, he's and his team is amassing. Kevin Thelwell are going to put together a list of all the kind of players that they think Danny Röhl might want, and the chats that they're having all the time. Danny will get the final say. What about him? Do you fancy? No, okay. Maybe Danny's going to use his traffic light system there. But Kevin Thelwell, Rangers TV last Saturday, it's State of the Nation, or the absolute state of us address. This is the second one he's done since he's been here. I think at least he made doing another video when he first arrived, just saying, "Hi, I'm Kevin. This is what I'll be doing." Maybe it's his third kind of Rangers TV interview, and he's also front and centre with both of our head coach announcement presentation pressers this season. The second one, Danny Röhl, being a lot harder for him than the first one, when I think Danny Röhl going to get pushed to the side while the press get hammered in about Kevin Thelwell and Patrick Stewart. That one also, Andrew Kavanagh was there, and Andrew Kavanagh looking like a big bad boss by the end of that one, who was kind of saying, yeah, I back my men, but if they fuck up again, they're gone. Don't worry, you'll not be seeing Thelwell and Stewart again if this continues. I've been badly advised. There was a very much a vibe coming off Kavanagh of that these days. But the thing is, if it's been so bad this season, and this is about the 5th or 6th time we're seeing Kevin Thelwell getting grilled on, and then it's not a grilling from Rangers TV, but putting forward his ideas and his plans, and I think there's a fair amount of accountability there. I think that's quite good. It's pretty decent. If when we start winning, he starts kind of like nudging Tav off the podium to pick up the trophies and all that. Maybe go too far the other way. But I think when things have been bad and you've seen different interviews with the fella, I don't know if it's going to be enough to get him off the front of these banners with a big red line through them, or get the target taken off his head. I had to laugh when I heard the Celtic fella today saying, "I know I put a target in my back." With that. We've seen that in Glasgow already this season, and it wasn't at Parkhead. I'd just like to put on record that I stand by anybody who attempts to vilify and dehumanise Peter Lawwell. That's fine by me. He's been doing it to us for years. But Kevin Thelwell was talking about the new appointments that he's making to his background. Jonathan Hunter-Barrett, this academy director from Wolves, where of course Kevin Thelwell used to work and became sporting director at Wolves before he went to Everton. He's going to be joining us in January. I think that's in people who are determined to hate Kevin Thelwell and put targets on his head, put kind of crosshairs over his head on banners. Be thinking, well, that's more kind of nepotism. You're just going to Wolves. You're just buying people from that. But that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to. That's the experience that you've got. You know people who are good for the job. You're supposed to be bringing them along. James Monty. He's a Dundonian. He's going to be a data specialist. See Hearts for information on data. And this is what Marathi and Kavanagh were talking about when they first arrived, when they did their big presser, when they actually officially took over the club in the summer. They were saying, it's data analysis. That's going to be a huge thing. This club, that's a way to go forward. So we're bringing in the people who are going to do that. It'll be a bit late. And there are going to be other additional specialisms, he said, will be added to the coaching staff, to Danny Röhl's coaching staff, and he's going to like watch this space. But this was an interview that was before Scott Fry came in, who's our new set piece coach. I don't know if that's what he was kind of referring to there. And he was talking about the head coach role and how they had to have a head coach because the head coach is so busy. It's not a manager, it's a head coach because the head coach is so busy. He just wants to look after the first team. He's just got to concentrate on the first team. He's got too much to do to be bothered with anything else, and that's where you get a sporting director coming in. But he's found he's so busy as sporting director that he needs to get in other people to take care of things, like technical director Dan Purdy. It's the structure. The structure is a director of football role. You're going to have to get somebody in that, a director of football role. It's going to be dealing with the facility, the training facility up at Auchenhowie day to day. He's going to administer the transfer window, all this kind of stuff. It's basically just a structure, as I've been saying for the word go this season. It's obviously just trying to shove a structure in there. I think they'll be worrying about the people who are actually in the structure second. As long as they're decent enough. They've made a bit of a mistake there when it comes to the old head coach when it was Russell Martin, but I understand what they're trying to do. These guys have come up with all their ideas about sport that they've made work throughout the world of sport, the wide world of sport, of 49ers enterprises, and they're saying, no, this place needs so many different heads of department, different directors appointed. Let's get them all in first, and then we'll probably next season before we'll get a properly operating football club. But they're modernising this. They're doing what they should do. He's very keen on local young players, was Kevin Thelwell, because the young players, people raised in Glasgow, raised in the Rangers tradition, they're going to have an inbuilt enthusiasm for and knowledge of the club at a basic level. So, but the first thing they've got to do is just get the club winning on the park, the first team just now. And the refereeing thing is they're having strong conversations regarding that League Cup semi-final with the SFA. They fundamentally disagree with the SFA's findings on the Austin Trusty incident, i.e., well, they call him the head of refereeing in Scotland, coming out last week and saying that he backs his referees and his VAR team, Nick Walsh, the match referee, and the VAR team, is it Kevin Clancy, on the decision they made regarding Austin Trusty not being sent off for gently kicking Jack Buckland in the head, and they've been doing their own analysis, Rangers, and they're going to present the SFA with the findings of their analysis, and it's an ongoing conversation. So I think it's one of those ones like, we just have to take that one in the head and move on. But we're talking to them. We're definitely talking to them, and I feel as if they are. They're applying that political pressure that the vilified and dehumanised Peter Lawwell has been applying to the whole of Scottish football to give him everything he wants for the last 20 years. And I'm delighted to see that it's getting him hounded out by the very galleries that he attempted to play to. When you start these conversations, you've got to have long-term responsibility. When you're doing it, else it's going to bite in the ass. Danny Röhl's press conference today. It was, what a nice guy Danny Röhl is. What a nice guy Danny Röhl is. I should at least be able to pronounce his name right. A lovely young man. It's not about my style, he said. It's about winning. And he didn't say it as forcefully as I've just said it. Somebody asked him, I'd be closer to seeing a Danny Röhl style. That doesn't really matter about the style. It's just, as long as Rangers win, it's not about me, he's trying to say. What a guy. I think Russell Martin's failure seemed to have done some damage for me anyway. As you might have noticed, kind of, and more than the football front, I felt his desire to be a kind of guru. It just became a kind of tin pot dictator, and it's like a really bad, it's like communism. People confuse communism with socialism, so in the minute you get anybody, people call Keir Starmer a communist nutcase, and he's like Thatcher basically. And I felt as if there's a chance here. We've got a guy who obviously really cares about his local community. He puts a lot of money into looking after young guys who've gone a bit wayward at the football in Brighton in his hometown. The veganism was a massive thing for a lot of Rangers supporters, and their insults to Russell Martin it was constantly getting brought up. But I think things going badly for Russell Martin, who clearly just kind of cracked and didn't understand Rangers at all. Just the size, really. It was a kind of perverse justification for some Rangers fans, those who are desiring to take us down the kind of anti-woke, i.e. kind of pro-bigot, anti-trans, pro-Putin and billionaires screwing us all out of our money in human rights road. But if it was all about that kind of retrograde, kind of white Christian mufti type behaviour, if it's all about Rangers fans, we just hate Russell Martin because we're also right, and I know for a fact that the anti-woke kind of reform Tommy Robinson shit is a real minority thing at Rangers. Like it is at all, including Celtic. They've got a lot of people who are into all that kind of nonsense as well. All clubs throughout Britain just now, it's a wee kind of simmering minority. But I think any worries I had there was a real kind of constituency building up within the Rangers support who just wanted that kind of everything's macho and everything's it's so macho that it's almost you think just it's okay, mate, it's okay to be gay these days. You just need some tenderness there, I think, in your life, and you're running away from it, you're scared. But if it was all about that, then the most kind of fundamentalist aspect of the Rangers support, fundamentalist about Rangers themselves, is the away support. And the entire away support at Dens Park, which was magnificent, by the way. The entire away support at Dens Park, the entire Rangers support at Dens Park in our last outing sang Danny Röhl's name for 97 minutes. They sang the name of this soft-spoken, really young, built like an X-ray, geeky German guy who looks kind of embarrassed. He embarrassingly answers questions in press conferences like he doesn't want people to know how much he's enjoying it, and he kind of shyly looks down the way and stuff like that when he's when people try to give him those leading questions that would wind up a Russell Martin or maybe wind up even a Philip Clement or something like that. They're designed to get a kind of a big headline. He just doesn't do it at all. He was even nice to the hacks today, telling them that the journalists are part of why he enjoys his time in Glasgow so much. And I thought, I wonder how long that'll last, but fair play to him. The journalists are all laughing. He's like, no, seriously, I mean it. He's a great guy. But the injury crisis that we've got just now, he wasn't having a bit of blaming that on Scotland national team or international football in general. In fact, he was quite keen to point out that he, of course, was involved with the German national team, so it'd be a bit hypocritical for him to have a go at his players for going on international duty, and him and his coaching staff had got together and had a few drinks to watch the Scotland game, and he was talking about how absolutely crazy it was. He obviously really enjoyed himself. That watching Scotland, they were all up in the tables and stuff like that. So it must have been a fair amount of drink was had. They were celebrating the goals going in. I don't know if it was just the German coaching staff or maybe there was maybe Stevie Smith was in there as well. But he's never going to cast it up to his player anyway. And he saw John. I saw John was in the starting 11 for Scotland against on it, and then I'm watching the game and I couldn't see him. It's just because he's failed a fitness test. Not failed a fitness test. He just came up injured in the pre-match warm-up. It was a muscle strain or a muscle tear, I'd imagine, and that is John Souttar out until towards the end of December, according to Danny Röhl. Also, Derek Cornelius, who was away. I don't know if he played for Canada. I know Canada were playing, was it Venezuela and Ecuador, kind of home and away friendlies, I think it was, for Canada. I don't know how involved he was, Derek Cornelius, if it was just in training or whatever, or during one of those games. But he's got a problem as well. I don't know if that's just as bad as John Souttar's. The kind of prognosis there is he'll be out for just as long. But I think either of them being out is not too bad, because neither of them have been perfect for Rangers in their various times, at their various length of time at the club. But both of them being out is bad. That is bad. For Rangers. And Mikey Moore is out as well. He was away with England under 19s, Mikey Moore, and he's just coming on to a bit of form there. It's terrible. I'll talk about the injuries when I'm previewing my selection for my starting 11 for tomorrow. Dujon Sterling won't be able to solve the problem. Dujon Sterling's going to come in and be brilliant. He's going to be brilliant for a couple of months, probably get injured again, and he's timing this just to perfection. The Braga game, I'm worried about the Braga game. Obviously, I want to be at full strength for that. But in terms of the domestic thing, we should be able to get through against Livingston. Dujon Sterling is going to come in and be brilliant and probably help us solve things at the back before he gets injured again, just in time for hopefully John Souttar coming back. Bailey Rice, he's got a problem. It's more serious. I think he's going to be out for a few months, at least well into the new year. Bailey Rice, in fairness, hasn't been playing at all under Danny Röhl. Who else? Finlay Curtis is kind of touch and go. We've got Liam Kelly, backup goalkeeper. So Jack Butland will probably get injured tomorrow, but backup goalkeeper for Scotland, backup goalkeeper for Rangers. He's touch and go, as is big Yousef Chermiti. Not greatly loved by the critics, Yousef Chermiti, but he's playing for Portugal under 21s during the week there, and he's got an injury as well. He's touch and go for for tomorrow. But Cornelius and Suter is the big one. Really is a problem. Nasser Jiga, you've got to imagine, is going to step back into the breach tomorrow. He's a is it Burkinabe? He is a Burkinabe. He's been playing for Burkina Faso, and he was away with them during the week. They're preparing for AFCON. Burkina Faso AFCON starts. The Africa Cup of Nations starts on the 21st of December. So just at the time we're going to get John Suter back, hopefully, Nasser Jiga is going to be off to AFCON with Burkina Faso. So, the way to think about that fatalistically is be just like the thing if Nasser Jiga suddenly his form's fallen off a cliff since he first arrived at Rangers, but he'll probably get it back now and be absolutely brilliant. You can think he's going to be brilliant because we're going to lose him again end of December to the Africa Cup of Nations, so that's a way to think about that. But he's going to have to step back into the breach. Danny Röhl today, and his pre-match presser was also talking. He was asked about this dossier. He said he was going to put together at the end into the international break. He said he was going to give him time to assess the squad properly. He's been in charge for 6 games, and he's going to have a chance to look at things. How did that go for you? Somebody was asking the day. It was a traffic light system. He applied a traffic light system. Absolutely brilliant. So he's basically got a list of the players that are at Rangers, and he's put a red light or a green light or a amber light next to them. Could do better. Doing just fine. Jurovsky. So I think he's probably, I don't know if he's been through that list with the players or if he just sat it, a photocopy of that on the desk of Kevin Thelwell. That's your January sales shopping there, Kevin, but he needs in January impact players, not just buying players in for the sake of keep up the squad numbers, which I thought was very good. Scott Fry is rhyming slang for Issam Sharai. It would see he's a new set piece coach, controversially coming from Lincoln City, just a third tier English side. But as people keep saying, well, third tier in England seems to be a lot better than, and that'd be a lot better than most of the top flight in Scotland. They've scored 30 goals, Lincoln City, I think, over 2 seasons from set pieces. Thanks to since Scott Fry's been in there teaching them all about that. He's kind of mid to late 40s, I think. Quite a young fella anyway for a coach. Most goals in the English third tier from set pieces, Lincoln City. I take it he's going to train us on how to defend them as well, because that's been a problem this season. I think the goal we lost in the League Cup final the first goal we lost to Celtic from a corner in the League Cup final, that was under Danny. The second goal we lost to Brian Bergen, Antman gives away that free kick out in Brian Bergen's left wing, deep in our right wing, and you just knew straight away that ball's coming into the box. That's it. As a throw in a set piece, the goal we lost to Sturm Graz, and before the one, the 2 goals we lost in the second one for that free kick. That was one of the most embarrassing goals I've ever seen Rangers losing in my entire life. That's maybe stuff that's you don't need a specialist to cut that out. That's just, you need a coach, a proper head coach would cut out the kind of goals we lost to Sturm Graz in the Europa League this season. But I'm just as concerned about tightening up in our defending of set pieces as I am in our failure to execute them properly. Apparently some Rangers players don't like working on them. Some players don't like working on set pieces, according to Danny Röhl. Get them sacked. You don't like working on set? I would love to work on set pieces if I was a player. Yeah, that'd be great, but then it's just nice to work on football all day, isn't it? So I hope it works out the same way. Issam Sharai came in, nobody knew why. He came from the same part of, is it Antwerp as Philip Clement. Philip Clement, who's now joined the Robert Fleck Loyal down at Carrow Road there. Stephen Fry, Delia, just the best cook, the biggest intellectual, and obviously he's worked with Kenny McLean as well, who is the Lord Mayor of Norwich. So those photographs of him celebrating promotion with Norwich. Was it about a 2020 Mad Dog, and he's wearing the Mayor's hat at the Town Hall in Norwich. So he's down there anyway, Philip Clement. But remember, Issam Sharai, I think, was kind of foisted upon him. I thought it was an old mate of his because they came from the same town. But his first game involved Issam Sharai was a game against Union Saint-Gilloise, another Belgian side, and then Nico Raskin scores the header to open the scoring against Union Saint-Gilloise that night. The night we ended up 8th in the Europa League group stages last season. And it was everybody straight away is celebrating with Issam Sharai. He's had a great effect straight away in the set pieces. So hopefully that is something that's going to happen. This idea that he's going to get in a local coach, an ex-Rangers player, to help him with the local scene, he's no sweating too much about that, Danny Röhl. I think Stevie Smith, he's saying, is helping him. He's been really good with him just now. So that was great. Livingston, one of the clubs. I don't really. It's an age thing. Recency bias, whatever you want to. They've got a crap kit and a crap strip. A crap kit is a crap strip. Well, they've got the black on it this season. That's good. It's got gold and black. But at times it can be like the last time on the top flight, it was really shite. Just that all yellow. But they're pretty much Bodo Glimt. Who I'd never heard of until 5 seasons ago, and they're absolutely fantastic and really exciting to watch. Really interesting kind of project. Bodo Glimt. So are Livingston the same thing to younger people? Do they see them as a kind of Scottish Bodo Glimt? So Livingston got to a League Cup final and they won it. They got another League Cup final and they lost it. 2 League Cup finals, that makes them. It's hard to know if Livingston, and its kind of backstory is an example of everything that can be achieved if you dare to dream and you have the ways and means and belief to back up your vision, or if they're the kind of prime example of Scottish football's hubristic determination to be something it isn't. Do you know what I mean? If Livingston and Almondvale, are they kind of a rose grown from the manure of Ferranti Thistle, Meadowbank Stadium, Edinburgh City, Spartans, Leith Athletic, City Park, Marine Gardens, Powder Hall, all these kind of wee Edinburgh backstory, they're all involved, they're all kind of variously involved. It's like Edinburgh, Spartans, these two, Edinburgh City and Spartans, kind of lower league sides, get Ainsley Park, a lower league venue, more kind of family-oriented clubs and facilities in the capital, rather than just Hibs or Hearts. And as Livingston, the kind of Newtown, the great Newtown club that Scotland always seems to want, go on, East Kilbride. Has that been born? Are they the beautiful baby Livingston that is begat by all those kind of recreations of club revivals of clubs, all those ground shares and stuff that were going on in Edinburgh? Are Livy the kind of tumour that's metastasised? It doesn't know when to stop. With a pipe dream, or they are roses, say, fertilised by the manure that they've been through. I'm not really sure how to think of Livingston. Like when I was a kid, I think Ferranti Thistle, they started during the Second World War, and then Livingston. Recency bias, modernism, after Second World War, before Second World War. Well, Ferranti Thistle started as a club during the Second World War, and then they become Meadowbank. Was it 1974 or something like that? Because they were a thing. I start remembering football around about 76, 77, and Meadowbank Thistle were always a bit freakish even then. When I was a kid, that like their venue was really weird and uncomfortable, but it was a great local facility. It's just like what Livingston are like this now, with Almondvale or whatever they're calling it these days. Tony Macaroni, Spaghetti had whatever, but I don't know if Livingston now seen by younger folk, even folk in their 40s these days. Livingston just always been there. They just grow up, they're used to them, and they're now part of the Scottish. They very much are part of the Scottish football landscape. Are they a bit of an anachronism, an oddity, they're kind of half-arsed, or are they an exciting kind of project? They never seem to have been that bad or that great to justify either. Anyway, that's my thing about Livingston. Dem Ute, they're a true Scottish club. They're storied. They say it's just one of these things. 2 League Cup finals. They come straight back up. They get relegated from the SPFL Premiership. Spent last season in the Championship. David Martindale kept in place. Their manager, his story is well known. His abilities are well known as well. They finished 3 points behind Falkirk in last season's Championship, into playoffs, hammered Partick Thistle, and they were 2 goals down in the second leg. On aggregate, they were 2 goals down in the second leg at Dingwall before they gubbed Ross County. They ended up beating Ross County 5-3 on aggregate to relegate Ross County. And back up they have come, Livingston, and they're rock bottom of the league just now. 8 points from 11 games, 1 win. That was at home to Falkirk, who they come up with from the Championship, and that was over 3 months ago, right at the beginning of August. They've had 5 draws, mind you, and if we drop any points to them at all, that'll be bad. Even the League Cup, they had Livingston, they had Kilmarnock in their League Cup group, and they lost to Kilmarnock. The only top flight side they have beaten all season, Livingston, is Falkirk, who, as I say, they come up with from the Championship last season, and who they played last time out. I think the last game was a 1-each draw at Falkirk in the I don't know what you'd call that. Would it be the Scots Arfield derby? Seen as Scott Arfield, I think he's born in Livingston, and then he's He's a Falkirk legend, or maybe the FC Vaduz of Liechtenstein derby. Oh yes, the FC Vaduz have played both Livingston and Falkirk in Europe. But they drew one each, and it was Danny Wilson equalising late on, and I saw it in sports scene, and there was Davy Martindale giving it the big, yeah, shut your yap, you're not talking now, are you, to the home supporters behind him at the big stand there, the biggest of the stands at Falkirk. And Danny Wilson scoring a header. I mean, we can remember him. He did well with headers for us when he was at Rangers, Danny Wilson, but we remember suffering from a Danny Wilson header or two when he's playing for Hearts, so we've got to watch out for that. I say they're bottom of the league right now, and they've got like Danny Wilson there. They've also got Stevie May, who did well against us in September when we beat them in the last minute. The goal from Max Aarons in the last minute, which convinced everybody that was it. It was all over for Russell Martin, because he was genuinely celebrating that day while the whole stadium continued to tell him to naff off. That was our first league win of the season, and they took us right to the end that day. Stevie May played well. The ex-St Johnstone star, bit of a veteran, Mo Silla, he scored against us that day, ex of Dundee, he's done his damage before. I got Andrew Shinney and all these players, Livingston, that you've heard of, and is he still playing, or was that where he's ended up? And so they've got experience. They know this league, they've got character. I know Davy Martindale is a character, but he's got character as well. He's certainly not a Tartan Army type character that I was referring to earlier, so they're dangerous if we're not on it. But we're away to Hearts on the 21st of December, go to Tynecastle. Other than that, domestically, it's no too bad a period for us just now. It's maybe the best period for us to lose. John Souttar, who's not signing a new contract with the club aren't really pushing him to sign a new contract. He's not everybody's favourite central defender, but we've been through this before. Like with Connor Golson, and look how bad we've been since we lost Connor Golson. Clinton Nsiala seems to keep getting off. Clinton Nsiala is a classic Rangers supporter thing of, because he's young and isn't in the team, people think he's brilliant, despite stunning evidence to the contrary. I mean, he's just lamentable. Barry Ferguson took him off as basically causing us to be losing to Kilmarnock by 2 goals in Barry Ferguson's first game in charge. Takes him off after like half an hour, and we win the game 4-2. The 2 goals we lost to St Mirren at Ibrox when Clement gets sacked, they just get muscled off the ball both times. I think they gave him a torrid. Did he play against St Mirren away at St Mirren the last time we lost an away game in the league? He made his debut against Dundee at Dens Park. We drew that game under Clement, and he gave the ball away, I think, for Dundee's goal. I'm sure he was, although no Rangers goal was ever blamed solely in one person. It's usually a community effort, any goal we concede. But I just think Clinton Nsiala has shown nothing. But because he's young, we seem to think he's going to be brilliant. Because he's not playing for us, he's going to be great. People are offering him as an alternative, and maybe Danny Röhl can get a tune out of him. But it's more likely to be Manny Fernandez, who we signed for big money from Peterborough. He's a big guy as well. Tav can step in to centre half. Nasser Giga is going to be the guy, I would imagine, getting in there tomorrow. And we're probably going to go for 2 centre halves now. We played with 2 centre halves, like a flat back 4 against Dundee at Dens Park. So maybe for most of the teams, we'll get Falkirk a week on Sunday. We'll get Kilmarnock. We're away to Dundee United, home to Hibs. This whole kind of period up to Christmas and New Year. Maybe it's the best time for John Souttar to be injured. We look to be on the attack mostly in these games, but it's bad news. The one that gets me is Mikey Moore. He just hit form. He just scored his first goal for Rangers before the international break, and it meant so much to him. Clearly, you could see by his celebrations. He got another one that was ruled out that day. Danny Röhl's changed his role at, no pun intended, at Rangers, and it's really benefiting from him. So Thelonious Asgard, part of that Norway team who destroyed Italy in Italy and just absolutely romped their way through that World Cup qualifying group. Norway, they're off to the States and Canada and Mexico. He's got to step up now, I think, because Gassama will probably go into this new kind of inside forward role that our formerly wide players have got under Danny Röhl, in which Mikey Moore is much more comfortable. So we'll get, I think Asgard can go in there and do it on the left-hand side, and Gassama will come across and try to directly replace Mikey Moore, because he can do it on both sides of the park, can Gas. Oliver Antman's got to step up as well. He scored against Andorra in a friendly for Finland, but he seems to be more of a winner. He could do a job, but he seems to be more of a kind of out-and-out winger. There's Oliver Antman and an inside forward, but he's been poor for us, apart from his very first game. since he arrived in the summer there. So maybe it's a chance for him to step up and try and make up for the absence of Mikey Moore, who I'm making out is a lot more crucial and vital to us than he perhaps has been across the course of the season. But we're just starting to get really optimistic about him, the young man. And he's going to be out for I think he's going to be out for them at the same time as Suter by the sounds of things. Tomorrow, I think probably going to be a back four. We played a back four at Dens. He's probably going to do that against Livingston, the team at the bottom of the league, at home. Maybe Danny Röhl has other ideas. He's come up with something else during this international break. We don't know, but I'll just guess it's going to be a 4-2-3-1 with Butland in goals. I think he's going to go for Tav and Giga at centre half and have Max Aarons. He scored against Livingston. He scored that winner against Livingston last time he played them. He'll have him in at right back. Magoma, who played for England under-20s in the 0-0 draw with Japan under-20s at Doncaster. He's going to have Jaden Magoma in at left back. Nico Raskin and Diamande sitting. Raskin, I think he's heavily involved with the Belgium national team as they cruise to qualification. Him and Diamande sitting is a sitting two. And I'll go for the gas on the right-hand side in the Mikey Moore role. Asgard. I'll take Thelwell Asgard in the left-hand side of Danilo with Majowski. Majowski up front. He scored against Wales during the week, but that didn't work out too well for him. Wales winning 7-1 in Cardiff against North Macedonia, but Majowski got himself a goal anyway. So I'll have Majowski, who was kind of unimpressive against Dundee, but was involved in a wee bit of nice interplay at the time. So get him playing against Livingston tomorrow if big Youssef isn't fit, and I don't know if we should be playing high balls up to Livingston anyway. That's one thing they'll be hoping that we do. It could maybe play up to them if we do that. The score I'm going to go for is 2-0 to Rangers. Only 2-0. Like quite conservative. It'd be a clean sheet in the league at home, and also we're saving ourselves a bit for Braga, I would think, on Thursday, and. Just pacing ourselves now for what's going to be a really intense run now that we can park the international football right through to the World Cup next summer. I'm going to go for Rangers to win 2-0, with a 4-2-3-1 tomorrow. But we have to win. We have to win 2-0 because with these injuries, we might drop points elsewhere, but we've got a chance to keep pressure on. We want to try and get Hibs out our way and then get ourselves into that top two at least before we have any title ambitions when we spend the big money that we've still got, obviously, after those brilliant financial figures, when we spend that in January. I'll come and I'll talk to you after the game tomorrow. Troop, it's going to be a lot quicker than this. I am the resurrection and I am the life. I couldn't even bring myself to hate you as I like.